Hey guys, how many of y'all have received a gift card before? More than likely, the answer to that is probably almost all of us. It's as if we have free money to spend as we please. Sometimes we can even spend it wherever we want, depending on where the gift card is from or what kind of gift card it is. But that card is redeemed for our wants and needs. We redeem that free money that has been given to us for whatever we want. Redemption is our doctrine this week. Redemption is a word borrowed from the commercial world of the ancient Near East. It's where slaves were bought and sold. And it's pressed into biblical service to describe how Jesus has purchased us in the marketplace of sin to set us free from sin's dreadful bondage. Last week we discussed sin, and this week we got to talk about redemption. Peter wrote, "It was not with perishable things such as silver and gold that you were redeemed from the empty way of life handed down to you from your forefathers, but with the precious blood of Christ, a lamb without blemish or defect." His point is, we have been set free from slavery to sinful ways of life and should therefore live as being Christ's possession. The story of Jacob's family, chosen by God to carry his message to the world, is filled with unsavory tales of sin. Joseph's brothers plotted his death and sold him into slavery. Judah sinned grievously, yet Messiah would come through this tribe. God can redeem what sin destroys. The world is corrupted and spoiled by humans. All humans share a bent towards and in the need for God. God meets that need through redemption. God's plan is to redeem a people for himself despite our waywardness. God, in his providence, uses the imperfections of his people to achieve his purposes. Although the just penalty for sin is death, God's redemptive plan includes rescue, restoration, and deliverance from the power and penalty of sin. Jesus Christ, the incarnate Son of God, is the Redeemer who paid the price for the sin of God's people and saves us from the wrath of God. When I do not believe, I am blind to my sins, but clearly see and respond with self-righteous indignation the failures of others. The hard things in my life just seem pointless. But when I believe, I have the perspective of being always and eternally under God's care. I will readily confess my sins and acknowledge my failures, knowing that God will use and redeem them. So how do we apply these or apply redemption as a leader? Two things. The first one, redemption sets people free from their past. Many people struggle with a painful past. They have consequences of their own sins, and then also the pain inflicted upon them by others. Believers are set free from these past sins, their sorrows, insecurities, and failures. God can redeem what the enemy meant for evil. The Redeemer himself assumes the debt and guilt of our past so that we are free to live fully and confidently for him. So, what beliefs are keeping you chained to the past? And how can the truths of redemption help you to move on and embrace God's plans and promises for you? The second one, redemption gives hope for the future. God promises a hope and a future for what he redeems. God's people are called to be his representatives on earth. We carry a message of hope, of redemption in Christ. So who in your life needs the hope of redemption? Is someone you know struggling with a painful past? And how will you share the hope of God's forgiveness, God's grace, God's love, and redemption this week? Hope you guys have a great week.